Hello, my name is Adam Siren. This is my Lesson 4 project for English 280, and for this assignment I chose to read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Issue 1. This was written by Kevin Easton and Tom Waltz, and it was published by IDW. So Kevin Eastman is one of the original creators of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Looking at it right away, the cover art, it doesn't look like that classic kind of cartoony image. It looks a little bit darker, something a little bit more like that Frank Miller thing. So I was surprised to find that Kevin Eastman, the original creator, was involved in this. That said, let's jump in and start talking about the story. So how does it fit into a larger story arc? Well, this is a largely exposition. This issue tells the story, it begins to tell the story of how the Turtles became the Turtles. So we see them in the lab before they get mutated into Mutant Ninja Turtles. And April O'Neil is there, and we learn who Splinter is, that Splinter was involved in these lab experiments that the Turtles were also involved in. But the story actually operates on two separate timelines. There's the exposition, the flashback to when they were just turtles in a lab, and the present day, where the turtles have already mutated. And it begins with a big fight sequence where the turtles are fighting against a large mutated rat with a bunch of human henchmen, but a turtle is missing, and it's Raphael. And as that fight goes on, you learn that Raphael, in the very last scene of the fight, you see a picture of Raphael standing by himself and Splinter looking very, very sad in one panel, and then in the next panel you see Raphael looking very, very sad, and he's alone, and he's wearing a hood, and he doesn't have his mask on. So we start with the fight, and then we go into the exposition story. So it's telling the story, it's telling two stories at the same time. The story of how the Turtles came to be the Turtles, and the story of this present-day conflict that we don't really know anything about. But it's just setting those stories up. It's not explaining a whole lot about them. We do get some details about the villain Krang. Krang is a general who is overseeing this genetic experiments that are being done on the Turtles and on Splinter, and that it's sort of suggested that that's what's going to cause them to mutate. But we only get a little bit of a suggestion of things to come. This is largely exposition. Okay, so when we're talking about what kind of heroes do we see? Well, things are kind of set apart in this story because we see the Turtles before they become heroes. We see them in what I guess would be the ordinary world, to use the definitions from the lesson. They're just ordinary turtles in an ordinary habitat, and they haven't mutated yet. We also see them after they have mutated, but we don't get a whole lot of information as to who they're fighting and why. We do get some information that indicates that they are a virtuous group, a kind of classic heroic group, and that evidence is indicated by, at the beginning of the fight, there's this panel where Splinter holds up his hands, he commands the turtles, he says, "No one must die." And I think it's Donatello, he says, well, somebody should have told them that, the guys that they're fighting. So that indicates that they have a kind of code, that they're a virtuous group. But most importantly, one turtle is missing. And that is the turtle that we get the most information about. And that's Raphael. So Raphael has left the group. We don't know why. We just know that the group is upset about it. So after the fight ends. We see Splinter is very sad, and we see Raphael standing by himself. And this ominous line says, It's just the calm before another storm. Then, after we go back to the exposition part, and we learn a little bit about the past and where these turtles came from, we pick up again with Raphael by himself, and he's digging through a dumpster. Now, the fact that he's left the group is already kind of setting up an anti-hero thing with him. He's left the group, but we don't know why. We just know that he's gone. We don't know if they got into an argument or there was some kind of, he was kidnapped or something. We don't know. And that would be really important information if we were trying to determine what kind of a hero he is. But I think they're sort of suggesting at this point that he's an anti-hero. And so the strongest evidence for that would be the fact that he's left the group, but also while he's digging through the dumpster, he finds a t-shirt that says Cowabunga. That's the classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles phrase, right? But he sees it, he takes one look at it, and he says, that is so wrong, and he throws it away. So it's almost like he's rejecting the idea of being a hero, being a part of that group. He's rejecting the classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles image, and he's off by himself. He then discovers a man who is beating up his son, and he breaks into the room ready to fight him. So he's off on his own. He's left the group. He's a little bit kind of brooding and lonely. He's gone lone wolf, but he's still virtuous. And that last fight that he picks is with somebody who is picking on a child, his son. So, in conclusion, I would say that what this comic does really well is make you want to read the next comic. In terms of giving us a definitive answer as to what kind of heroes we're dealing with, there's not a whole lot. There's a suggestion that we're getting an anti-hero thing from Raphael. As for Splinter and the other three turtles, there's really not a whole lot to go on. So that was my reading. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much.